at Diamond 6, when we talk about crises in some of our seminars, we talk about the three phases that all crises have. Before the crisis, how do we prepare? During the crisis, what do we do? And after the crisis, what do we learn? Let's talk about each of those very quickly and think about a couple of thoughts. Before the crisis, we must think about the following, and that's where we're at right now for your organization. How am I building resilience every single day so when something goes wrong, my organization is best prepared? Two things come to mind. First, am I empowering my employees, those who work for me, to have a sense that they can act even in my absence? Have I made them feel confident and trained them so they know what to do? So when something occurs, they begin to move very quickly because time may be of the essence. Second, have we prepared crisis action plans? And do we talk about that frequently throughout the organization and even exercise that as necessary? And then secondly, when the crisis actually occurs. And here are a couple of thoughts I think might be appropriate. First, we live in a very, very transparent society today. So if an organization has a crisis, frequently it may involve local or even national media exposure very, very quickly. So as a leader, I need to be confronted with that, think about that, prepare for that, and consciously think through when something goes wrong. First, what messages do I want to convey? And simply saying to any media person, I have no comment, really is now more and more inadequate because there are multiple sources, or they'll talk to other people in the organization, or they'll go to social media, etc., to find an answer to the question, what has happened? So prepare very clearly. What is the message I want to get out? And use the opportunity to talk to that journalist or conduct that interview to get your message out, realizing at all times any meeting with the press is an opportunity to talk. Not necessarily answer their questions, but to get your message out. Secondly, my physical presence as a leader is of essence, particularly during a crisis. Too oftentimes I think of leaders today because of technology thinking, well, I can stay in my office, but because of my cell phone, my iPad, my computer, my fax machine, my telephone, I can run everything from right here. My physical presence is actually diminished. I would argue just the counter. In a crisis, the people in your organization need to physically see you. And you need to think very carefully, where is the most important place for me to be right now? Not necessarily micromanaging and taking over for people in the organization that are doing well when things have gone bad, but at least showing that you care, showing that you interest, and using your presence. And last of all, after the crisis, here it is fundamental. It surprises me, very few organizations do this. When something goes wrong, after we get through it, do we take that time to sit down and carefully think through what have we learned from this? And involve everybody in the organization in that after-action review process. What have we learned from this? How are we going to modify perhaps our organization? How are we going to modify our crisis action plans? And roll that back in, and now we're back to the beginning of increasing our resilience for something that goes wrong next. And finally, has this particular crisis been so catastrophic that we need to think about the fundamentals of our organization? Is our mission, vision, and values still appropriate, or has this crisis really showed us that the culture and our environment has changed so dramatically that we must step back for a minute and actually think through the fundamentals of what we're all about? Don't forget that old saying that I've used very frequently. When you talk about crisis, the Chinese word for crisis brings together two symbols. Those two symbols are danger, and there's no doubt about it. For a community or an organization, a crisis is a danger. But the second symbol is opportunity. And leaders should think about that because bad things, unfortunately, will happen.